Let me ask you something. If I handed you the keys to a property today, could you confidently tell me if it would make money as a midterm rental? Could you run the numbers and know without guessing? Because here's the reality. Most investors can't. They'll buy a house, throw furniture in it, list it online, and then cross their fingers that someone rents it. And when it doesn't perform, they blame the market. But the truth, they never analyze the deal properly in the first place. Even worse, some people actually buy properties that do cash flow, but they quickly realize running it themselves is another full-time job. Between tenant communication, turnovers, upkeep, they're exhausted, and the property that was supposed to give them freedom is now just another stressor. That's why in this video, I'm breaking it down step by step, how to actually analyze a midterm rental deal here in Phoenix. The income, the expenses, the occupancy, the cash flow. We'll look at two real-world examples, and I'll give you a framework you can use every single time you consider a property. And along the way, I'm going to keep reminding you of the most important question. Even if the numbers work, do you want another job? Because if you don't, that's where someone like me steps in to run the operations for you, so this investment truly stays passive. Okay, so let's start with the basics. A lot of people overcomplicate this and look at the wrong things when it comes to MTR investing. These are the numbers that actually matter. Monthly rental income potential. You're not looking at nightly rates like with STRs. You're looking at furnished monthly rent. This is your top line revenue. Occupancy. With MTRs, you want to estimate how many months per year you realistically have a tenant. A safe range is 80 to 90%. That means you should expect your property to be filled 9 to 11 months of the year, not 12 out of 12. Expenses. This is where people get sloppy. Expenses include your mortgage, taxes, insurance, HOA if you've got one, and then all the extras specific to MTRs, furnishings, utilities, internet, cleanings, maintenance, and if you're smart, a professional manager. Net operating income. That's just income minus expenses. The numbers most investors stop at, but we're not going to stop here. Cash on cash return. This is huge. It tells you how quickly you're making back your initial investment, the down payment, the furnishings, the setup costs. If you're putting $100,000 into a property, how long until you've earned $100,000 back in profit? Now here's the sixth hidden number most investors forget. Your time. Because let's be honest, if you're coordinating cleaners, answering tenant questions, and marketing your property, you're not just running an investment, you're working another job. So every time you analyze a deal, you've got to ask, do the numbers make sense after I account for management? Or am I tricking myself into thinking I'll save money by doing it all, when in reality, I'm just hiring myself for free? Now, let's talk about income, because this is where most investors get overly optimistic. You can just say, well, my mortgage is $2,000, so I'll charge $3,500 and make $1,500 a month. That's how this works, right? You have to look at real comps. And the best place to do that is on Furnished Finders. Let's say you're analyzing a 3-bedroom in Chandler. You go on Furnished Finders and filter for properties within a few miles. You might see similar homes renting for $3,200, $3,400, maybe $3,600. That gives you your baseline. You can also cross-check Airbnb with 30-night or more filter. Just keep in mind, Airbnb often inflates pricing and not everything on there actually books. Furnished Finders is where the real tenants are looking. Now, here's where people trip up. They'll see a property listed for $3,800 and think, great, that's what I'll get. But just because it's listed doesn't mean it's rented. You need to look at actually booked rates if you can, or stay conservative and use the lower end of the range. For our Chandler example, if most are renting between $3,200 and $3,600, I'm going to plug in $3,500 as my estimate. Conservative, but realistic. And then I'm going to multiply that by 10 or 11 months, not 12. Why? Because vacancies happen. Tenants don't always move in the day the last one leaves. You'll have gaps, and you'd rather be pleasantly surprised by 11 months of income than disappointed when you budgeted for 12 and only got 10. Now, pause and think. Even if this property makes $3,500 a month, are you the one who wants to keep it full? Are you the one answering those inquiries, screening tenants, and making sure the calendar doesn't have gaps? Because if not, you better build management into your plan. So let's break down some expenses, because this is where I see the biggest mistakes. Here's what to include every single time. Mortgage principal plus interest, property taxes, insurance, HOA dues if you've got them, Utilities, water, electric, gas, trash. Internet, you definitely need to have good quality internet at your property. Furnishings, initially $10,000 to $15,000 for a 3-bedroom house. Cleaning between tenants. Maintenance, because you are going to end up having maintenance stuff pop up. And platform or marketing fees. Management fees. Now, let me expand on a couple. Furnishing, don't underestimate this. A 3-bedroom needs beds, couches, dining table, kitchenware, decor, linens, blackout curtains, and at least one desk for remote workers. That's easily $10,000 to $15,000. And if you skimp, you'll regret it because tenants will notice. Utilities in Phoenix, AC in the summer can run $300 plus a month. Add trash, water, and gas. Don't forget internet, $80 to $100 a month for decent Wi-Fi. Cleaning, even though you're only turning over every few months, you'll need deep cleans. Budget $200 to $250 per turnover, maybe 4 to 6 times a year. Maintenance, this is still a home. Things break, budget at least 5% of income for repairs. Management, here's where you need to be honest with yourself. Yes, you can self-manage, but at what cost? If management is 15 to 20%, add that into your expense line because unless you truly want to be on call for tenant needs, you're not calculating real passive income without it. Okay, so let's run an example. We have a property in Chandler, $450,000, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. You are going to rent this for roughly $3,500 a month. Occupancy is 90%, so 10.8 months. Your annual income will be $37,800. And now let's calculate those expenses. Mortgage, 20% down at 6.5%. That's $2,200 times 12. That's $26,400. Taxes and insurance, $3,000. Utilities, let's call that $300 a month equals $3,600. Internet, $80 a month, $960. Cleaning, 5 turnovers at $200 equals $1,000. And maintenance, let's call that roughly $1,500. And then tack on your management fee of 15%. That's $5,670. So total of $41,130 in expenses. So net, you had income of $37,800 minus your expenses of $41,130 equals a negative of $33,330 a month. Now, without a management expense, it's slightly positive, around $1,340 a year. But here's the reality. If you self-manage, you're working for that $1,340. That's not passive income. That's a second job. So what's the play? Either you buy at a better price, push rentals slightly higher, say $3,700 a month, or you pass on the deal. This is why analysis matters. So here's the framework I want you to use every single time. Does it net at least $500 to $1,000 a month after management? Is it near consistent demand sources, hospitals, business hubs, freeways? Can you furnish it without draining your reserves? Would you be okay with 2 to 3 turnovers per year? And the most important, do you actually want another job? If the answer to number 5 is no, and let's be honest, for most people, it is a no, then don't even consider running it yourself. Build in management from day one. So let's wrap this up. Numbers matter. Analysis matters. Don't ever buy blind. But even more important than the math is the question, do you want another job? Because midterm rentals are not 100% passive if you're managing them yourselves. They're smoother than STRs, but they still require time, systems, and energy. And that's exactly where I come in. If you want to invest in midterm rentals here in Phoenix, but you don't want to be the one handling tenants, cleaners, and turnovers, shoot me a text. I help investors every day set up and manage profitable MTRs so they can actually keep their investments passive. Subscribe for my next video where I'll break down exactly who rents MTRs and how to find your perfect tenant in 2025.